Hi guys, I think I was wrong about One Piece. So as a kid, I'd seen One Piece on television, and I watched a bit of it, but I never really got too enveloped into the show. I was more into Dragon Ball and Pokemon in terms of anime. However, freshman year of high school, due to a friend of mine's continual recommendation, I finally started the adventure of watching One Piece. And I watched a decent bit. I watched up until Skypiea on a very sketchy anime site with the dub, and eventually during the Skypiea arc, the lips on this dub, sketchy anime website became unsynced with the voices, and I was unable to find another website to watch the dub on. And at the time, I was just a very big dub guy. Didn't want to watch the sub. I didn't feel invested enough in One Piece to continue this journey. However, during that time I was watching it, there was a few characters that stood out to me. Of course, everyone loves Luffy, his happy-go-lucky mentality. I really loved Roronoa Zoro. In fact, my very first Steam name was based on Zoro. Before I got on that sketchy anime website, I used to use the Netflix mailing option to mail over the DVDs. And so I had the 4Kids version of One Piece for a very long time, which was pretty interesting. And of course, I loved Ace. I thought all of them were designed really well, and the entire personalities of the characters really enchanting to me. But like I said, I just didn't think it was worth having to switch to the sub for, or eventually trying to find that dub website that the lips would match. Being an anime fan for so long, of course I'd seen so much One Piece talk on YouTube and Reddit, especially in these past 8 or so years, but due to the show not standing out enough to me when I was younger, I never really desired to invest myself back into this show, especially after it being so long. I feel like I'd forgotten a lot of things. I just had so many other things I wanted to watch, and for starters, One Piece is ridiculously long, as y'all know, spanning over 1,000 chapters and over 900 episodes. It just seemed that I was too far gone to ever start this journey again. But due to that YouTube that I mentioned that I'd watch from time to time, I like anime music videos sometimes when I'm working out and whatnot. But I'd watch some of the fight scenes with music in the background, and the fight scenes, particularly at first, they weren't overly impressive given the animation, especially comparatively to other animes that have fighting, such as like Dragon Ball or Seven Deadly Sins or things like that. However, that same friend of mine that I mentioned in high school told me to watch One Piece again, to give it another try. And he kind of explained to me that these fights, in terms of animation, the animation improves. Of course, the show's been going on since 1998. The animation does improve. But one of the things about the fight scenes that are so amazing is that there is so much depth within these fight scenes in terms of the lore and the reason they're fighting, and so much emotion behind it. You know, given the show's 1,000 chapters, there's going to be so much build up to certain things. You know, there's so much intricate payoff for these fights that have been destined for a long time, and they're continually built on top of each other to lead up to these battles. So a lot of our friends, we started to try to watch One Piece, and we did that, like, all of us on Discord. We One Piece became a little bit of a meme because no one would seriously watch it or commit to this venture besides one or two of us, and of course the one who told us to watch it. But even at that, no one ever continued this grind. No one ever continued to try to finish One Piece. Even though I'm not currently finished, I'm still actively reading. I'm on in the chapters of 600. I've got past the time skip, and all of this to say this One Piece grind that I picked up during this quarantine with this free time, it is well worth it, and I encourage y'all to do it if you haven't. Where I started back up was Skypiea. And with Skypiea, looking at it, especially my memories from when I was a freshman in high school, I thought the animation was better. Alas, we're seeing things like Demon Slayer nowadays, and so of course our standards are set higher. And, but I still gave it a shot. Skypiea I thought was really cool. We were introduced to Montara, which I guess is which is observation hockey before observation hockey was even a thing. We see some amazing scenes in Skypiea. One of the most notable for me being when Luffy gives his straw hat to Nami whenever she's freaking out, when they're on Inaru's ship and it's going up, and she's kind of fearing for her life. And when Luffy puts that straw hat on her head, he says, "You're the Nakama of the future Pirate King. Calm down." And see, and this moment really got to me. I really love in anime whenever there is a intense moment in a show. I love when there's a character who typically isn't serious, who doesn't have that anger or that seriousness, and we see that moment in Luffy, who is a character you wouldn't really typically expect to act that way. And as I continue this journey, we stopped alongside the Water 7 in Annie's lobby. Both arcs which really solidify the Straw Hat Pirates. We see Usopp challenge Luffy's authority as the captain in the dispute over the Going Merry. We see Robin's will to live, and to me most importantly, we will see that the Straw Hats will go to war for the entire world for the sake of one of their crewmates, which is the epitome of what I believe a Pirate King's crew needs to do. And time again, we see that the Straw Hats view each other more than just casual crewmates, but as Nakama as family. During these arcs, we see a beautiful fight with Luffy versus Rob Lucci, in which Luffy refuses to be knocked down again, and we see Third Gear fully in action, a great transformation. We additionally see fights with essentially all of the crew versus individuals, and they all get some shine. But even after watching these 2 arcs, which were great, I still took a little bit of a break. It was, both arcs seemed to overlap with each other. It felt like I was watching like 100 episodes of this one arc, so of course took a little break. However, when I got back to One Piece, I began reading it instead of watching it, because I heard the pacing was much better whenever you read it. And so we go through Thriller Bark, and I get to see one of the best moments of the show for me, being whenever I see one of my favorite characters, Zoro. We get to see Zoro, Luffy's right hand, prove that his ambition has surpassed his desire to just become the best swordsman. He wants to protect his captain, despite the cost of his own life. In a moment of pure badassery, we see Zoro take all the pain of Luffy, all the damage and wounds he suffered throughout the arc, in order to save his life. And as forewarned by Kuma, a Shichibukai, Zoro would likely die due to this damage, especially in the state he was already in. Despite all of this, Zoro doesn't care. Zoro takes on Luffy's pain. We see Sanji run to find Zoro. We see in a moment of triumphant victory, Zoro standing there, arms crossed, covered in blood from head to toe, and he's asked, "What happened?" And Zoro tells him nothing at all. And this is just an amazing moment for Zoro, and one of the all-time favorite moments of the show for me. And these moments just hook me deeper and deeper into the show. The next arc of Sabari Archipelago is the definitive arc that made me not turn back on this venture of watching One Piece. Seeing the Tenryubitsu and the societal injustice that exists within this world showed me that One Piece touches on some very real subjects. Seeing the fishermen and mermaid people being on the sole of society's shoe and the continued discrimination towards them made me feel terrible for these individuals. Seeing as well the Tenryubitsu buy both human and fishmen alike off the auction to use as slaves, and they view them as nothing more than trash, made me absolutely hate these celestial dragons, and they're a great antagonist for this show. And these feelings of immense loathing towards these royals of society made me realize that Luffy's goal of becoming the Pirate King, his desire of absolute freedom, is a complete escape from the society they currently live in, an escape from the injustice, discrimination, and instead just sailing the seas with everyone treated equally. It doesn't matter if you're fishman, merman, human, rubberman, it doesn't matter. Luffy doesn't care. During the time in the auction where Hachi is shot by a celestial dragon while trying to save Kami was absolutely heartbreaking. A character in the show from long ago I thought I could possess no empathy for, I now feel terrible seeing that he's truly been trying to make amends for his sins and move forward. And his life is attempting to be stripped from him because he's not viewed as anything worthy to these celestial dragons. Luffy, despite all forewarnings and my absolute favorite moment of the series thus far, punches a celestial dragon in such a fulfilling and rewarding scene. To see the man who will challenge not only the world government, but also the royal class with no fear for himself, simply aiming to stop those who are doing wrong, is a amazing moment in the show. Luffy as a character, again, is silly and lackadaisical and foolish, but at the same time he is valiant and steadfast as a captain who lives by his ambition without thought of the consequence. I personally love a protagonist who does not fear the consequence of a rightful action. As the arc progresses, we are introduced to Silver's Rayleigh, or Dark King Rayleigh, the former right hand of Gold D. Roger. I was fanboying super hard during this because there is so much unknown about Gold D. Roger, and seeing the mythical legend's right hand and his immense power was phenomenal, and something that I've long been waiting for. We also see 3 of the supernovas in action within Kid, Luffy, and Law, and they fight together and absolutely body the Marine Force. These 3 of the worst generation are clearly stepping forward into this era to make some waves, and I can't wait to see more of them whenever I'm even more current than I currently am. From there, we see one of the admirals in actions within Kizaru, and Kizaru seems absolutely busted with his devil fruit and his ability of light. And thankfully, we get to see Rayleigh save the day and be able to go toe-to-toe with him without really breaking a sweat, just to show the power of Rayleigh. And he's really attempting to save the Straw Hats during this time. However, with the arrival of Kuma and the Pacifista, the Straw Hats are immensely defeated in a moment of absolute tragedy where Luffy is truly in despair as each of his crewmates, one by one, is teleported off. We then see Luffy teleported off to Amazon Lily. With the Amazon Lily, I think we find the waifu of the show, at least one of them, within Boa Hancock. We see Luffy, for the first time, use Conqueror's Haki unintentionally during this arc, which was phenomenal. Conqueror's Haki is such an immense power wielded by such unique and powerful individuals such as Goldie, Roger, Rayleigh, Shanks, etc. We also, during this arc, get to see the alliance of Luffy with one of the 7 warlords of the sea, who not only is an ally of Luffy, but is in love with him, which is quite amazing. And during this time, she helps him go to Impel Down so Luffy can rescue his brother Ace, who he found out was sentenced to be executed in front of the entire world government. During this time at Impel Down, there's of course tragedy. We are reunited with Crocodile, we are reunited with Bone Clay and Mr. 3, and during this time, Bone Clay sacrifices himself in order for Straw Hat and the rest to escape, which was absolutely heartbreaking. He's very much so an honorary Straw Hat, as one of my friends likes to say. And then we get to Marineford, the arc that I was waiting for this entire time in One Piece, because I've heard so much about it. I heard how phenomenal it is. And we get to see Whitebeard in action, and we get to see Luffy try to save his brother. This arc was absolutely heartbreaking, and the fact that 2 of my favorite characters died during this arc. However, the ramifications of this arc serve to strengthen Luffy's ambition. They serve to uproot the strength of the world government and the military power, and the fact that Straw Hat Luffy was able to escape from Impel Down, and not only escape, but make it to Marineford, a military government base. And Luffy was able to get face to face with 3 of the admirals. In one of my favorite moments of the show, we get to see Luffy arrive with the help of Jinbei in front of the 3 admirals, and of course, you hope that Luffy is able to put up a fight versus these 3 tyrants, but of course he is not. But the ambition of Luffy, despite knowing the strength and balance and being able to fearlessly try to fight 3 of them simultaneously, is nothing short of admirable. As we can see, his loyalty knows no bounds, and his love of his brother is entirely deep. Unfortunately, in this arc, Portgas the Ace, of course, passes away, and so does Whitebeard. And during this time, you question if Luffy is going to be broken moving forward. How will Luffy ever recover after his brother, the man who promised him that he would never die, dies before his very eyes? We see Luffy go through immense grief. We see him go through immense pain as he's trying to reconcile with the reality that Ace is dead. And during this time, Jinbei reminds him, there are things in this life worth living for. There are things in this world that you still have attachment to, and there are people there who still need you. Very much so in the way in real life, after we lose something extremely important to us, there are still things in this world that are holding us here, that need us here. And Luffy's reality check here is that he still has his crew. Not all is lost despite Ace being gone. Ace's will is not dead. During Marineford, a quote that stuck out to me was when Whitebeard said, "There will arise a man who will carry on the weight of history on his shoulders and challenge the entire world to a fight." In this case, of course, that is Monkey D. Luffy. He is seeming to carry on the will of many men. He has the will of D, as we already know. He is willing to take on the entire world and shake the constructs of society. He's already from such a interesting bloodline, with his grandfather being the hero of the Marines, his father being the world's most wanted criminal and being the leader of the Revolutionary Army. Luffy is clearly set on the right trajectory to truly change the world, and of course for the better. After reading through all of this and watching these scenes and the clips, my love of this manga, this anime, was solidified. And all of this time that I thought this show was typically, an average anime, I learned that this show is entirely a deep fantasy adventure. There is so much lore within this show. It is at times intoxicating. I have to ask continual questions, look up continual things, because everything comes back to things were introduced in previously. One Piece is truly a deep show and an amazing fantasy, and I encourage any of you to watch it. And it takes a man to admit he was wrong about something, but I will admit I could have been wrong about One Piece. As I continue to get current within the show, which will hopefully be very soon, because I feel like I'm reading real fast on these chapters, I will ideally make a little bit more One Piece content, just because the show has become such a big part of what weighs on my mind in terms of anime. It's been one of the things I've been consuming so much of. And I really do encourage you, if you've been in my situation and thought, the show seems a little bit too long, I don't know if I can really watch a show that is 1,000 episodes, 1,000 chapters. I encourage you to watch it, and I encourage you to give it a try and to push through some of these slower episodes at times and try to become immersed within this story, because I promise you won't regret it. As always, guys, I'll see you all next time.